So basically, to set the plate, quote pun intended. CNN channel did this article. Maggie Haifu Wong was the author, and basically this idea of the article is that Minimal is a restaurant in Taichung, Taiwan, and the chef is Chef Marvin Wan. He is the creator of this restaurant. And what this is a 20-seat ice cream shop. So basically, the chef wanted to do really in-depth flavors of ice cream, and not only does he do like doesn't just work with flavors, but he works with temperature. So there's a lot of temperature variations on how the ice cream set and served and perceived. And it was a very experiential ice cream shop setting. And it was so impressive that Michelin actually gave him a star last year in the 2024 Taiwanese Michelin Guide. So basically, you would go, you'd have a 20-seat dining room, and you were offered a 7-course tasting menu. And the Michelin Guide's write up, just a quote from it on why they got the star was, quote, focusing on ice and ice cream. The restaurant skillfully layers flavors and textures through temperature variations and creative combinations using unique local ingredients from Taiwan. So the kicker to this whole story is that Chef Wan has decided that he's no longer going to be offering both a tasting menu and in-store dining or in-restaurant dining. So he's moving to a scoops only format. The next Taiwanese guide drops on August 19th, which happens to be my birthday. So some cool stories there. But I think why I found this interesting, it's going to be a litmus test for where the guide is positioning itself when it comes to, does it only focus on the food or does it focus on service aspects and whatnot? Will the idea of him dropping the tasting menu be perceived as lack of attention to detail? Because in the article, he says, quote, I find it even more frightening to lose myself than to lose a star. And he felt that he wasn't focusing enough on the product of ice cream. He lays it out that the reason he did the tasting menu was to actually like experiment with ice cream and kind of not rush, but like get a lot more of an ability to work on different flavors, different textures, and different like temperatures. And having the ability to do 7 different ice creams where people were giving constant feedback allowed him to do that. So he actually used like the fine dining aspect as like a really like focused R&D space, which is really cool and an interesting way to think about it. I would love to speak to the shop on this. But the last thing that I'll leave before I give it to you, Justin, is this is from CNN that according to the official website, a Michelin star is awarded based on 5 criteria: the quality of the ingredients, the harmony of flavors, the mastery of techniques, the personality of the chef as expressed through their cuisine, and consistency across the menu and over time. This stresses that a Michelin star is awarded only for the food on the plate, not the decoration, style, formality, or service of the restaurant. Restaurants do not necessarily need to offer a tasting menu to receive a star. However, Minimal's no seating policy could seal one's fate, quoted from CNN Travel. So, with that being said, is this like a scandalous story? No. Is this like an earth-shattering story? No. But for those who follow the guide, I think it's going to be interesting to see if Minimal is on that list, because he's doing this to put even more focus into the quality of his product, which is ice cream. So one would think that if the Michelin's only focused on product and the quality of it, and he's 10xing his focus on his singular ice cream that you can get there, that he would still be on the guide. And that's my contention. Your thoughts?
So I'm taking a look at the menu here, and you can go on, it's sewercuisine.com, which I am learning just now is like the sister concept that is like part of this restaurant's world, ice cream shop's world. Mm. And some of the funny things, I'm calling it funny, but I just think it's so interesting to hear about what would it be like to go to a 1 Michelin starred. I already see the YouTube title and thumbnail in my brain here, but it is some of the notes on the takeout section of the website here is orders are accepted per group. Please wait outside the glass door until served, which talking about hospitality is just like, that's crazy to me. Number one. Number two is
you have to eat it outside.
Yeah. So it says on holidays or during busy times, you may need to wait for more than 40 minutes. That's crazy. And then it says, due to staffing shortages, drinks are temporarily unavailable. And so that's yeah, go ahead.
And that was the thing he was experiencing is that, and he says this in the article, he feels that it's wrong for customers to have to wait so long for ice cream. And he was finding this issue where people would have to wait upwards over an hour. And so the demand obviously is there. There's only so much that the chef can do. But even now you see it like the wait, and he hates that they have to wait. So that a little bit of why he got rid of dining and why he views this as like, go order your ice cream, get it, and go. Like, that's the reason.
I wanted to touch on a couple other things on the menu here that are listed on the website. So it says sorbet is fat-free and has a light and fragrant texture. Gelato is fat-free and has a rich texture. And then one of the examples of a sorbet, just so people can get a sense of like what does quote unquote one Michelin star ice cream look like, sound like. One of the examples for the sorbet is orange, scented tea, and loquat flour. And then they have descriptors under each of the ice creams. So they'll say, we use orange as the base, blending it with a variety of citrus fruits to add a sweet and sour layer. A touch of loquat flour adds a rich, sweet floral aroma. The tea-like aroma and tannins of the scented tea cut the sweetness and create a refined finish. And this is a translated page, so caveat on how well this translation did. But this is just a wild, so here's where I adopted from, or approach this. I think that CNN's reporting on the qualities that Michelin looks for in some of this stuff is absolutely something that is like, I've been working on this Michelin guide episode in conjunction with writing my book. And so I'm kind of like, it's taking a little bit longer than I would have hoped to come out with this Michelin episode. But I'm hoping to kind of like cut through the noise here, because sometimes you contact a Michelin office in one country, city, jurisdiction, and they'll tell you one thing. And there's also some Michelin standards that they talked about ages and ages ago that I think all of us could look at some of this stuff and say it maybe doesn't apply to how they evaluate restaurants now. And so CNN doing that reporting, I'm not saying it's bad reporting. I'm just saying it's interesting to see those standards applied to something like, okay, we're going to give a star to this place. Same thing with that story we covered a couple weeks back. People can listen to that episode on Lilo in San Diego, where it's like they got a Michelin star after something like 9 weeks of being open. And it's like, how are you going to evaluate consistency across just 9 weeks of being open, as an example for people that people sometimes use as rebuttals here. And then you look at, okay, well, there's no place to come in and sit. There's also examples of the street food vendor in Thailand who I had the pleasure of going and eating. There's this place called episode on the channel of eating that crab omelet and the tom yum soup, and like all of that stuff has a Michelin star. But there's like, you're sitting on plastic tables and it's all outside, and there's, you know, you get the beverage options is just kind of like soda, you know, like you can get a Coca-Cola as your drink option. There's no wine list that you're going to be presented with at that place. And so on one hand, it's kind of like, if you're going to swing, and I'm not saying you, Ray, I'm saying just like the comments more so than anything else. If people are going to swing one way and say, well, Michelin recognition should not just be reserved for white tablecloth fine dining, but then you swing it all the way this way and they're giving stars to street food and ice cream places, and they're saying, well, these standards aren't the same. I'm looking at some of the food presentations here, and it's just kind of like, this is really well formatted dessert plates. Like, this is beautiful food. And so looks can only get us so far, so to speak, but I wouldn't necessarily argue that this isn't like Michelin level execution on some of these things. And so I sometimes get stuck there. I'm agreeing with you that it's going to be super interesting to see with this change in service. And again, focusing more on the product than we need this to be a fully robust dining experience. Does it have to be? Does it not need to be? I'm more also trying to guess, like, why not operationalize that a little bit more? Like, why not, if you're going to get these accolades and, you know, you're getting more press and probably more guests from the attention that comes with getting a Michelin star, especially as a dessert-focused place, why not lean into that a little bit more? And is there something else under the hood here that's happening from a R&D perspective, or maybe there's constraints that are happening either financially or operationally in the space?
It seems from the interview, if you're to take it at face value, he was saying that he feels the pressure of a Michelin star.
Yeah.
The feels like he's less focused on ice cream, and at the end of the day, that's what he wants. He wants to make good ice cream.
Got it.
He just like seems like one of those chefs. Like, I just want to do this really well. It's cool that I got the attention. It's cool that I got the accolade. I just want to make good ice cream. My point is, and this is my moonshot idea, and you can roast me in the comments. If he gets a star, then what stops other food purveyors of amazing products from being recognized by Michelin? It's a restaurant rating system, right? But like, okay, but what could it not blend into something else? Does it not have to evolve in 2025? And so for me, it would just be personally really cool to see if he's on the list, because I'm like, okay, well, yes, in a restaurant, you have to go visit minimal. is there a cheesemaker you have to go visit or something like that? And I know that's crazy, and I know there's only people that are gonna be like, oh my gosh, how could you say that? Hey, that's how you move forward in an industry. But that's just my idea on it. It's interesting in that sense.
Well, this is also not new from there have been I've gone to a counter in New York that just does a dessert only experience. It was really cool. Like you go at 11 in the morning and you just have 6 or 7 very well prepared, really nuanced flavors, great textures, and it's all desserts. And it's kind of weird because you're leaving on this weird sugar high at the end of the day, but you know, like anybody who's worked with like a next level pastry chef knows that there's just there's a total expansive world that is available to you on the pastry side that to the pastry chef who's, you know, working in a restaurant where they get their 2 dishes on the tasting menu and that's all they have the capacity to be able to contribute culinarily, it can be difficult sometimes to be in that space. And so if anything, it kind of makes me wonder, you know, is there a world where Michelin might actually, they added the green star, again, this is me moonshotting with you, Ray, is there's a green star that they added because we're talking about sustainability, and they've added a new recognition for hotels. Is there a world where Michelin can maybe take some of this feedback and say, huh, that's really interesting. This brand of getting a Michelin star is a little bit tainted when we give it to this kind of like specialist, you know, element of the restaurant. Is there a world where we can kind of like the core restaurant goes 1 Michelin star, 2 Michelin star, 3 Michelin star, but then there's some of these additional stars that we can add to both give credit to the professionals who are like, I'm running the pastry program. And then that might be something where a place like this can get recognized on a Michelin level, which again, the normie audience just sees as like, oh, they're Michelin recognized. I have that happen in Seattle all the frickin' time. And it drives me insane. And people get all up in the comments in Seattle foodie, you know, small universe world that we have here when a chain from Taiwan will open a place here and they will put in their Instagram bio like Michelin recommended Taiwanese restaurant. And then everybody gets all upset because it's like Seattle doesn't have a Michelin guide. And so why are you calling yourself a Michelin recommended place when you're not? And even like Michelin recommended versus Michelin starred, it's like the brand is in such this weird place right now where they want the word Michelin to hold and mean something. But when they do these weird fragmentations, it's almost like they lose a little bit of that brand equity. And I think it affects their reputation. The last thing that I wanted to touch on the minimal thing, unless I have the translation wrong and the currency is wrong, he measures his scoops as 120 milliliter scoops of ice cream, where you can get up to 2 flavors, $6. 180 new Taiwanese dollars equals $6.01. So you can go get a scoop of Michelin starred ice cream for $6. That's cheaper than the vegan ice cream place that is like all the rage here in Seattle. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's an interesting story.